A psychoanalyst shows a patient an ink blot and asks him what he sees. The patient says, "A man and woman making love." The psychoanalyst shows him a second ink blot, and the patient says, "That's also a man and woman making love." The psychoanalyst shows him a third ink blot, and the patient says, "That's a man and woman making love too." The psychoanalyst says, "You are obsessed with sex." The patient says, "What do you mean I'm obsessed? You're the one with all the dirty pictures." A young newlywed couple wanted to join a church. The pastor told them, "We have special requirements for new parishioners. You must abstain from sex for 2 weeks." The couple agreed. 2 weeks later, they returned. The pastor asked, "Well, were you able to get through the 2 weeks without being intimate?" The husband sighed. "Pastor, I'm afraid we couldn't." "What happened?" the pastor asked. The husband explained, "My wife was reaching for a can of corn on the top shelf. It slipped and fell. When she bent over to pick it up, I was overcome with lust and took her right there." The pastor shook his head. "You realize, of course, that means you are no longer welcome in our church." The husband shrugged and said, "That's okay. We're not welcome at the grocery store anymore either." The nurse asked the patient to remove his clothing and put on a gown to be checked by a doctor. "In front of you?" he asks shyly. The nurse says, "Well, no, but I've seen the naked human body before." The patient said, "Not one like mine. You would die laughing at my naked body." "Of course I won't laugh," said the nurse to the patient. "I am a professional. In over 20 years, I have never laughed at a patient." "Okay, then," said the patient, and he proceeded to drop his trousers, revealing a huge male body with the smallest adult male organ the nurse had ever seen in her life. In length and width, it was almost identical to a tape-away battery. Unable to control herself, the nurse tried to stop a giggle, but it just came out. And then, she started laughing at the fact that she was laughing. Feeling very badly that she had laughed at the patient's private part, she composed herself as well as she could. "I am so sorry," the nurse said. "I do not know what came over to me. In my honor as a nurse and a lady, I promise that it won't happen again. Now tell me, what seems to be the problem?" "It's swollen," the patient replied. A guy is driving when suddenly his car runs out of gas. Just then a bee buzzes in through the window. "Hey, what's going on?" asks the bee. "Out of gas," the guy replies. The bee says, "Hang tight," and zooms off. A few minutes later, the guy sees a whole swarm of bees fly over and dive right into his gas tank. After a little while, the bees fly away. "Go ahead, give it a try," says the bee. The guy turns the key, and the car starts perfectly. "Wow, what did you put in my tank?" he asks. The bee grins and says, "BP." A tourist was admiring the necklace worn by a Native American. "What's it made of?" she asked. "Alligator teeth," he replied. Trying to sound superior, she said, "I suppose they mean as much to you as pearls do to us." The man grinned and said, "Oh no, anybody can open an oyster." The chairman of a big company found his car wouldn't start, so he called the carpool. A cheerful voice answered, "Carpool." The chairman said, "What cars do you have available?" The voice replied, "Well, we've got vans for the factory runs, Mondeos for the sales team, BMWs for the directors, and one big fancy Mercedes for Fatty, our chairman." The chairman said sharply, "Do you know who you are speaking to?" "No," the voice replied. "This is your chairman." Another pause. Then the voice calmly said, "Do you know who you're speaking to?" "No," said the chairman. "Good," said the voice. "So long, Fatty." Little Johnny and Susie, both 5 years old, were playing house when they decided it was time to get married. Determined to make it official, little Johnny approached Susie's dad to ask for her hand in marriage. Susie's dad, amused, played along. "And where do you plan to live?" he asked. Johnny thought for a moment and confidently replied, "I'll just move into Susie's room. There's plenty of space for both of us." "And how will you support yourselves?" Susie's dad inquired. "Well," Johnny explained, "I get a $5 allowance every week, and so does Susie. That should be enough." Now, growing a bit exasperated, Susie's dad decided to challenge him further. "But what if little ones come along?" Johnny shrugged and said with a grin, "Well, we've been lucky so far." A woman, frustrated because her husband was late coming home from golf yet again, decided to leave a note that read, "I've had enough. I'm leaving you. Don't try to find me." She then hid under the bed to watch his reaction. Soon after, her husband came home. She could hear him in the kitchen before he made his way into the bedroom. She watched as he walked over to the dresser, picked up the note, and read it. After a moment, he scribbled something on the note, then picked up the phone and called someone. "She's finally gone. Yeah, it's about time. I'm on my way. Wear the French nightie. I love you. Can't wait to see you. We'll do all the naughty things you like." He hung up, grabbed his keys, and left. As she heard the car drive away, she crawled out from under the bed, furious and heartbroken. With trembling hands, she picked up the note to see what he had written. "I can see your feet. We're out of bread. Be back in 5 minutes." 80-year-old Bessie bursts into the recreation room of the retirement home. She holds her clenched fist in the air and announces, "Anyone who can guess what's in my hand can sleep with me tonight." A witty elderly gentleman in the rear shouts out, "An elephant?" Bessie thinks a minute and replies, "Close enough." A woman was terribly overweight, so her doctor put her on a diet. "I want you to eat regularly for 2 days, then skip a day and repeat this procedure for 2 weeks. The next time I see you, you'll have lost at least 5 pounds. When the woman returned, she shocked the doctor by losing nearly 20 pounds. "Why, that's amazing," the doctor said. "Did you follow my instructions?" The woman nodded. "I'll tell you, though, I thought I was going to drop dead that 3rd day." "From hunger, you mean?" "No, from skipping." An elementary school math teacher asked her class, "If there are 3 birds sitting on a wire and a farmer shoots one, how many are left?" A little boy said, 2. But little Sally, knowing it was a trick question, said, "None. If you shoot at birds, they all fly away." The teacher smiled. "Correct. Very good, Sally." Then little Johnny raised his hand. "No, teacher. There would be one left. The one the farmer shot." The teacher shook her head. "No, Johnny. That's not right. But I like the way you think." Johnny smirked and said, "Okay, teacher. Now I have a riddle for you. 3 women are at a bar. Each orders a single scoop ice cream cone. The first woman eats hers by gently licking around the edges. The second slowly sucks the ice cream off the top. The third chomps the top, then sucks out the rest from the cone. Which one is married?" The teacher thought for a moment and said, "Well, I'd say the third one, the one that gobbles the top and sucks out the inside." Johnny grinned. "Nope, it's the one wearing the wedding ring, but I like the way you think." The 3 grown children of an elderly couple, all successful in their own right, had gathered to celebrate what they thought was their parents' 50th anniversary. The oldest son, a well-known heart surgeon, arrived first. He gave his dad a hug and said, "Sorry I'm empty-handed. I had an emergency surgery this morning and just couldn't grab a gift in time." His father smiled and waved it off. "Son, your presence means more to us than any present." Next came the second son, a sharp-suited lawyer. "Mom, Dad, you both look amazing," he said. "I flew straight in from a court case and didn't have time to pick anything up." Again, the father replied, "It's fine, son. We're just happy you're here." Finally, the daughter, a top marketing exec, rushed in, still on a business call. "I'm so sorry. My flight leaves in a few hours and I've been swamped all weekend. I didn't have time to get you a gift either." The parents just smiled and welcomed her with open arms. After dinner, as everyone was finishing dessert, the father cleared his throat. "There's something your mother and I have been meaning to tell you for a long time." He looked at his wife, then back at the kids. "The truth is, we never actually got married." There was a beat of stunned silence. Then all three children blurted out in unison, "Wait, does that mean we're illegitimate?" The old man leaned back in his chair, took a sip of his coffee, and said, "Yep, and apparently cheap ones, too."